Hello, and welcome to the What's the Crack podcast with your host, Neil Rennie. So we're back for another weekly episode. This week, I have a very special guest on, so Rachael Dunne. Rachael is off the back of a pretty incredible season. I followed her journey this year. I thought I was lean. This was levels. So, and I know Rachel's very outspoken as well. So I'm actually really looking forward to sort of getting stuck into a few things this week. But Rachael, thank you for coming on.
Oh, hey Neil, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
So this is your first ever podcast.
It is. It is probably my last.
Aye, this could be the end of it. So, Rachel, really, like you had it like you ended the season on a ridiculously high note. I think you won your pro status with Nabba and won the Nabba Pro show literally on the same day. So, like, I'd like to just know a little bit, like, suppose just talk us through like your past season before we get into how it all started for you.
Do you mean this season?
Yeah, this season it's just, you still on this season? I think you're done now, aren't you?
Oh God, no, no, no. That's finished. That's finished. It finished after Nabba. I couldn't continue. I was, lean for quite some time,
Yeah.
very lean, and I just felt like I was going to go for Masters Milan. But I just felt like I'd be just dragging the arse out of it, if I'm being honest. I knew I wouldn't be able to bring my best because I was starting to really suffer, So I ended on a high with Naba Universe. It was amazing. What can I say? So I just said that was it. I always want to bring my best, and I knew I wouldn't if I went to Milan. That's on, I think, next weekend. So I have a few friends that are competing at that, and I'm really hoping they do very, very well. I would always wish people that I have stood on stage with the very best.
No, I think when it's kind of done. Like the thing is, you can go and be competitive still, but sometimes when you're not bringing your best look and you're competitive, it doesn't give you the same sort of sense of fulfillment with it. I think that's one of them, and you kind
No,
of as you
and
said,
for me,
back in the aspect of it, it's something that you said there, which does feel like at a point.
yeah, for me, look, I could have gone and given it my best, but it wouldn't have been my best. And for me, bodybuilding anyway is just about, trying to beat my last look. I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't. I wouldn't. So I just called it a day. I said that was it. After Navi Universe, I was like, no, I'm done now.
So talk us through
And
this season.
but
You started. When was your first competition this year? It was probably a couple of months ago now,
that was yeah, it was August 30th.
right? Aye.
Um, yeah, and I was ready about I would say about 5 weeks from that show, I was pretty much ready to go. And Mike, we wanted to come in early. Mike Westwood was coaching me, and he was fantastic, I have to say. And I did want to come in, make sure I was lean enough early, but I probably did come in a bit too early, if I'm being honest. But that was wild. Two Bros was wild. Great experience. Justin and his team, they were fantastic, I have to say. From the minute I got there, it was a really nice vibe, great people. And, UK for me to compete in was just different. It was amazing.
In what
Different
in what
atmosphere, different vibe. Sorry, Neil.
in what sense was it different? Compared to like competing like over here, which I assume you've done before.
I have many times. The atmosphere, the professionalism, 100%. Even I would even say the other coaches.
Right?
Oh,
I'm going to screen share
did
because I
something.
want, I want people to see what you were sort of
Oh yeah, sorry.
looks like.
They disappeared. Yes. Yeah, the atmosphere, even like I have to say, I met so many other coaches over there. Um, Amanda Winston and all her team, fantastic. Callum, Christian, there's loads and loads. They're so friendly. They're so encouraging, always coming up, having a nice word. Here, I don't think you get it as much. I have found that if you're competing against people, the coaches, I have been blanked by other coaches. I was, and it has not been a nice experience, especially last year. I prepped myself for three shows.
Right?
So I was at the competitions on my own. And to be blanked by people I've known because I was going up against their own people was like a slap in the face to me. I would always have a nice word to say to anyone. But I did find that difficult because I'm not that way inclined. at the end of the day, we've all done the work. We're there. Nothing's going to change the outcome. So if you act like an asshole, it's not going to bode too well with me. That's for sure.
It's strange that I think it
But
can. I think I've heard stories that the Irish bodybuilding scene being clicky. I suppose I'm fairly new to it, so it's not something that I've necessarily found. But
mm,
at the end, I suppose I've placed myself in environments like this where it's like actually trying to bring people together and talk. So maybe it hasn't maybe translated as
yes,
well as that side of things for myself. But it's not something that I've actually seen in my time. But it's when I've
yeah.
guests on, I suppose, that are a little bit more mature in the scene that have been for a while. They have mentioned that side of things, but honestly, it's not something that I've ever came across.
Yeah, it's a shame, I think it needs to end as well. It's not very nice. It doesn't come across well. At the end of the day, we're grown-ups, and to be fair, I think probably the one coach who at shows now has come up to me and always had words of encouragement, always been really pleasant is Alan, the AKA.
Yeah.
Always been extremely nice, and he's busy. Like he has a lot of clients. But his manners are impeccable, and for him to come up to me and to have a kind word means a lot. Especially here. I mean, there's others. There's Neil Kennock. Hope I don't probably not pronouncing his name. He's always been lovely. I've often dropped him a message, and he's always been super responsive and very kind as well. There's loads of really good ones. I hope I haven't missed anyone out from here, but I suppose like anything, it's like if you look at your own page, and you have 10 nice things said about you, you'll always zoom into the one bad one.
Yeah,
It's human nature.
I found
It
that
is,
so much for the podcast and stuff. Is like you're going, just go
yeah,
read. And it takes one thing, you're like, oh my God, your world
yeah,
falls
yeah,
apart like that.
absolutely. So there's those type of things. I've been blocked by people who I've been going up competing against here. I just think it's ridiculous. I did a bit of blocking myself then after that. I was like, you know what? Go away out. I can be petty too, you know.
I think the pressure it can get like you can everything becomes so magnified like and especially
Oh,
like yourself that's competing. I suppose again probably a reason for it is I haven't competed at the top level where it's like scheduling for that pro card. It's probably not seen as like a threat. I think that's when the competitive side comes in. Hopefully next year they're blocking me. See more as a threat.
I
Maybe that's
don't
a
see.
sign of like I've made it.
Do you know what the funny thing is, Neil? I don't see myself at the top level. I have so many improvements, I can make. I just always think of myself, I'm just a small country girl, from the middle of nowhere, out in the sticks, basically training in my garage. I converted my garage with the help of my sister, the credit union,
Mm.
and Gregor. I transformed my little garage into a gym, and I train out there 99% of the time. So I don't have any notions about myself at all. I know I have many flaws that I need to improve on, and I have no problem admitting that. I did the Arnold's in 2023. I bombed. Like it couldn't have gotten any worse. And I would always say that. But I made a point after that show that would never happen again.
I mean,
And
this
it never did.
you bros. Look, this you won the overall at this show. Like,
I did. I did a good few categories now in that show. I did over 35, over 40, over 45. I'd have done the over 50, but I'm not quite there yet. And, I did win them all. I won all the high categories and I won the overall. And, I went up with some amazing athletes. To be honest, I was shocked. But for my claim to fame, then it's like, I bet lovely Stephanie, who is Megan Sylvester's client. And in 2024 at a muscle contest in Ireland, I bet Cuba's client there, So that was like, for me, that was like mega, you know, um, because they're outstanding, and the girls are outstanding. Stephanie is still going strong and she's competing, I think, next week as well. Not in Milan because she's only a child, but she's going to, I think, is it Romania or somewhere like that. So, for me, they're my not that they're my wins. It's not like, I have spoken to all these girls that I've been on stage with since, even at Two Bros, the ones I had beaten, and so pleasant, so nice. You know, everyone backstage is just lovely. I've been beaten then by Alex Stanford. Oh, amazing. at the last one for the pro qualifier. I've spoken to her many times since. I didn't block her. I've invited her to come and stay. We're all going to get beaten. It's like, come on, put your big girl pants on.
I mean,
You know,
PCA
so
was a pretty good look too for you. I think that was the week after, wasn't it? You'd rolled in.
yeah,
Many shows did you end up doing this season?
I think I've done five. I've done five. Yeah, I did PCA Manchester on the 7th of September. Another amazing show.
Yeah,
Um, great atmosphere there. There was, it was crazy. It was crazy, and there was a lot of traveling. And after between two bros and PCA, I actually got quite sick.
yeah.
I didn't know if I was going to do it. Well, I did because I paid for it. Paid for the accommodation. So I was like, oh, but I was on antibiotics, which is not ideal. I did have an ear infection and stuff, which seems to creep up every now and then on me when I get super lean. I
Yeah.
suppose your immune system isn't the best. But I went and we came in a bit tighter because PCA, where you stand.
Yeah.
They like the shreds. They like that condition. So that's what I brought for them, and it was amazing. And like the response I've gotten over there from people in the audience, people, judges. The guy who was filming it actually came up and said I was the most conditioned out of males and females.
Yeah.
That it was crazy. It was. Sure, I don't see it. I think when you're so deep in prep, you don't really realize how shredded you are. You
You
know,
don't. You don't. Like I've seen
until
it.
you look at your
Fucking hell.
until
Like
you look at your face.
I was competing at the same time. And I was like, fucking hell. Like it was that like dry peel as well. Like through the natural
Yeah.
light. It was
I,
like
I,
I actually
I
liked. I love that condition. Like that's like, something that very much appeals to me. That sort of thing because it's to me it shows a real sign of like first of all nailing the peak and like I think if you've been anywhere around that. You know how much that fucking it's suffering whatever way you want to package it. Like you're
exactly.
hurting doing that. I like the muscle contest Ireland look though. To me, it was a little bit more like for what the NPC usually look for. It was a little bit more like filled out, a little bit fuller.
Yes.
Like, had a real nice balance. I thought between. I'll just pull that one up actually. Like of the fullness and the condition, especially through your legs. And there was still like this thing. There's so much detail there. Anyways, you can nearly push that fullness slightly as well. Like that, I think that's a
Yeah.
great shot for you there. Like
I knew that that's what they'd look for, right? But apparently I was too conditioned. I mean, I think when you're going for a pro qualifier as well, which was the next stop after that, like they usually look for condition, they look for that look.
mhm.
For me, I don't really want to do shows where I'm not going to be pretty much very much conditioned. Sure, that's what bodybuilding should be like, not
Then
soft.
sometimes, sorry, like Rachel, with the female classes, sometimes it's like that's you're rewarding maybe not being to be all the way in sometimes,
I
which is
know.
hard as a bodybuilder. I get that there's criteria and stuff, but it's like, where do we stand with that? Because this is figure you're doing, yeah. And there's such a
Yeah,
fine line sometimes between going, right, well, what's physique and what's figure? Is it just the posing or is it the criteria? And it's like there's such a crossover with it sometimes, and there's inconsistency like within the judging. Like I've got Nikki,
100%.
it's just a client of mine, and she's women's physique pro. And it's like you're trying to figure out really like
That's Nikki. That has to be Nikki.
yeah, like where is the
She's
line there?
phenomenal.
Obviously,
Mm.
like, the reason she's got the physique pro card is because it's absolutely again like yourself peeled out of her mind, but the structure isn't there for a figure athlete with like yourself there. It's just so like you clearly with the longer limbs and the way you're sort of put together, it's figure. But I'd want to see because you go to Olympia level, the girls in the figure classes are fucking they're very very sharp like.
Yeah, it's nuts. Like it's nuts. Now, my problem will always be my midsection. So I have a thick waist for bodybuilding, and I do realize that, I can see I have eyes. I am 49. I did carry
Are you?
twins to nearly full term, so those things. I'm wearing two XS t-shirts, but still for bodybuilding, it's not, I suppose, like wouldn't be the most amazing midsection ever. So I just have to grow everything else, I suppose, my quads and my lats and stuff, my shoulders, which I will. Every year I want to bring something better, and I have, since 2022, my first time ever doing a figure. And next year for me, I'll just be huge.
I want to touch on the muscle contest Ireland because I know like we talk
Mm,
back and forth and like I always want this podcast to be open and honest as well. Like
yeah,
you had a few issues surrounding like the muscle contest show itself, like in terms of like, I think maybe the placings or how it was maybe judged as well.
yeah. Now, you know, I'm only can only give it from my perspective.
Yeah.
Obviously, everyone has their own point of view. I would like to think it's an honest point of view, but I suppose it's honest from where I'm standing. And so I actually had no intentions of doing Muscle Contest Ireland because it was in between. I had done one show and then I was going for the pro qualifier in the UK to do two pros on the 18th of October. So Muscle Contest was the 28th of September, and I got a message saying that they were looking forward to seeing me at Muscle Contest. And I had said that, unfortunately, I wouldn't be doing it because it's too close to my next show and my coach doesn't want me to do it. And it was like, why doesn't your coach want you to do it, kind of thing. But he had said then that the two bros competition I had done August 30th was null and void. So I'd have to, if I wanted to go for a pro qualifier, I would have to do Muscle Contest.
Sorry, in what
So
sense was that null and void, the regional qualifier?
that the regional I had done in the UK was null and void.
Why
So
though?
that
I don't understand
the politics, I don't really either. I thought as long as you did a regional, that was fine.
yeah.
Didn't really matter where, which that's why I did the one in the UK. But I was told no, that one was null and void, that I would have to do one here in Ireland to qualify. So
Because
that
you're
was
from Ireland, you had to do
yeah,
a regional, and
yeah.
yeah, I mean
So that was
that's where it kind of becomes something you're going like, yeah, I mean especially because there's what one pro qualifier for in Ireland, and
yeah,
that's May next year. Like,
yeah,
where does that
exactly.
leave you?
Exactly. So there isn't enough, like, you
No,
know, there isn't enough competition here anyway. But
no,
look, that's what I was told. So that's what I had to do. So I went and I drove up because, these shows are crazy expensive.
yeah.
And most of the contest is crazy expensive, you know. So I did drive up to Limerick on the Saturday. Um, and I registered. Now, I knew as soon as my height was taken that something wasn't quite right because I had seemed to have grown from the week before. So I was gone. Muscle contests go from 0 to 163 centimeters, then 163 centimeters up. So I had always, every competition I've come in at 163, but not that day. I had come in at 163.4, which pushed me up into the next category. So as soon as that was done, I had questioned it straight away and said, how is that? How is that? Like, I have never,
Yeah.
come in at that height. But anyway, that's where I was being pushed, and that was that. So I knew I had said to another athlete there, I won't mention any names, that I said, so there's shenanigans going on here because something isn't reading quite right. So I knew. So off I went anyway. I came back on Sunday and I subsequently found out. Look, I don't know if you've ever competed with muscle contests, but the timings and everything, nothing ever seems to run on time.
I've had
It's
clients, and it was an experience that like I didn't take them back. I didn't compete there myself this year. I got a wee bit of flack
mm,
for that too. It wasn't my most positive experience for clients. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, something has to change, really and truly. So the next day, I accidentally found out that I had. Now there was only three in the class, so it's not that hard, and they're supposed to be professionals. You spend a lot of money to enter the category you've chosen, which for me was open, right?
Mhm.
It was an open height category. But that's not where I was put. I was put into the novice class, which automatically takes you out of going into an overall, by the way. Um, Now, I found that out accidentally, right? Because I was asking somebody, when would we be on stage? And when they looked through the thing, they said, oh, you're a novice class. And sure, I was like, how would I be a novice class? I was never in a novice class, even when I was a novice, you know. So I said, sure, that's ridiculous. But I was assured that I was taken out of that later on, but sure, I don't know. And then when I eventually did get on stage, my music was cut halfway through, which, as a friend of mine said, that would send her anxiety through the roof. Now, it didn't for me. I was okay, but it could have gone the other way, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so the whole auditorium went completely silent. Can you imagine?
God.
Um,
Nightmare.
but yeah, but then people started shouting my name. Thank you, whoever you are. Thank you very much. So that kind of took that bit of awkwardness off. So I did address these issues with them after. And this is where I think the ego comes into play. So instead of maybe saying, you know what, Rachel, there was a few mistakes made, we apologize. There was no apology given, right? Um, it was well, it was unfortunate the music was cut during your time on stage. We moved you from the novice class into your class, right? But there was no like apology as to say, or explanation as to how I was put in that class in the first place, you know. And when I queried how I was beaten for the overall, no, I'm not here to diss anyone or to, I'm not going to mention names or any of that, but I did say how I was beaten with someone's posing was not up to scratch. And for some reason, the gods must have been with me because I actually asked for photos of that competition, my first one actually of the season,
Okay.
professional pictures. For some reason on the Saturday when I was there registering, I asked for them. So I did pay for those and I could see it in every single picture I was sent that the other person who got the overall, her posing just was not right. So I did ask how that happened, but there was no answer given to that. I was told that I needed to have more midsection control, which fair enough.
Yeah.
I would take that. I do have a thick midsection for sure, but I think overall, in balance and everything, I had that. I had that. Um, and that's just the way it goes. I have no problem losing out to someone who's better ever.
Mhm.
Even at two bros for the pro qualifier, the lady who won the pro card, Miss Moneypenny, she's Big Sophie's client, another wonderful person. Her pictures on stage do not convey how unbelievable she is in real life.
They rarely
Like,
do. They rarely do.
wow,
Even with a good
like,
photographer, I think in terms of condition, it's hard to really pull out that condition in some of the photos. Like, I know I
yeah,
get my PCA ones back and go, oh, I know.
yeah. I'm not joking. I was in awe. And to me, I had seen her in previous, and I didn't think she was any threat, really and truly. But my God, was I wrong? Because when I saw her in person, oh, I was blown away. Blown away. She was class. She deserved that pro card.
Well,
Um,
we'll end this
and
section on a positive note, though, so we will, because then you went on and went to the Nabba universe and won,
yeah.
your
Well,
status.
first off, let's rewind there a small bit, right? Because that was Saturday. I did two bros on the 18th, right? I got off that stage. I just whipped off the bikini. I had to go then on a train for like 3 hours, right? So we were running from that venue to get to the train station to go from Bradford to Newcastle. And like I basically just got to Newcastle, dropped the bags, and went straight to the hotel to register for Nabba.
Oh, I didn't
So
realize
it
that
was
was the day.
wild.
I didn't realize that was the two bros was the day before that. I didn't realize that. That
Yeah,
was
yeah,
British finals were on the same day. That's right. There was
yeah,
three big shows in that same weekend. Like it's a good
exactly.
spot though. The Fed, like in Newcastle, I think it's really good. It's a nice. I love it because obviously I lived there for a decade, and like I think the atmosphere, the people, the show itself,
Oh,
even the venue as well. I really like. It's quite an intimate like venue, especially like the backstage is certainly intimate. Like so
yeah. Well, for it was what for so Saturday was in Bradford. That was great. Then straight on the train, and sure, geez, I still had my stage makeup on. I'm sure people thought I was a transvestite, but anyway, off we went. I hadn't time to do nothing, so we went and I registered, and then we had the wonderful Nabba on Sunday. And the reason, like Eddie Elwood, has really put a lot of work into
yeah,
that show. Like it was phenomenal. It was night and day from last year. He really pulled out all the stops. And big shout out to that team. Pete, the whole lot of them, every single person. I competed with Neville last year. I came second at Universe. I did get an invite last year. And also I qualified this year because I came second last year in athletic figure.
Yeah.
So when we went out on stage in athletic figure, there was 14 of us actually.
At the British finals here?
No, that was at Nabba, at Nabba
Yes.
Universe. There was
Well,
14.
Universe, yes.
Sorry,
Big
there was
class.
14 on the day after, so the 19th. There was 14 in athletic figure. So we were on stage for a long time posing. Like they made us work. And then there was 4 of us moved from athletic into trained, and I was one of them. So there was 8 then in trained, and they were stacked. And sure, like I had no expectation at all. I really didn't. I actually said to Mike in the morning, don't bother going up. No, because it was 3. I'm terrible. Like, I always think of other people. He's got a 3.5 hour drive. I'm after coming from Ireland,
Yeah.
But, that's how I felt. I was like, you stay put. I said, I don't really have too many expectations. I did come in drier, right? And the day before, I don't know, I don't know how. I didn't feel stressed. I felt really chilled.
Aye.
He did drive up, of course, the 3.5 hours, and he stayed for the whole day. He's great backstage. He's great guy. And I was moved into trained with the monstrous women. They were huge. I'm like a little fairy, I'm only tiny, really. And I won. I couldn't believe it. I actually couldn't believe it. And then I was asked, would I like to accept the pro card? Well, yeah.
Yes.
But apparently some people don't.
Yeah.
And I was up against some really great girls, like unbelievable girls that had won the year before that had won their classes. That I just thought there was no way I was going to beat these, Sarah and oh my God, why can I not think of her name now? That beautiful blonde girl, it's gone. You come to me now in a minute. But I thought I'd be eaten. But no, I won. I accepted my pro card. And then I was asked if I would like to go up against the pros that evening. And sure, I said I will.
I know. Yeah. Turned out okay.
I thought I'd come fourth out of the 4 because there was 4 of us for the pro show. So then I was on and off. It was a really long day now, I have to say. I was there from 8:15 in the morning. I think I got back to the place we were staying maybe 9:30 at night. I think the last time I was on stage could have been after 8 p.m. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So then we went into the overall for the Nabba Universe title up against some other fantastic athletes, obviously from Australia. They came from everywhere, Australia, Korea, everywhere for the show. Mexico. It was wild. The backstage was crazy. Like, it was great. There was it was madness. But anyway, so I actually won the universe title. No, I nearly got sick.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
I nearly got sick. And then I went in against the pros that evening and I won. And like, I was like, are you joking? I couldn't believe it. Like, I mean, is it Sarah Page? Is that her surname? She's a unit. I've never seen shoulders on a female like it. She's like a Charlize Bull. She's like, they are like so wide. But I think the one thing I had over everyone else was the condition.
Yeah. It
If
stands
I'm being honest.
such good stead. It stands out massively. I think, that really now, especially in certain federations, like it's rewarded heavily, I think, as it should be. Especially, obviously, you have to have a very good level of development and muscularity there too. But
Yeah.
like, obviously, it affords you so many more opportunities now. It opens up the door. I personally think Nabba's on the way back. Like, I think
Never. I would never say a bad word about Nabba. I absolutely love them. I think one thing I do regret out of my course of competing over the years is, one, not going to the UK earlier. But maybe I wasn't ready either, It's a different ball game over there. The people are really, I don't know what's happened here. I even found from the minute I was on a plane, in the airports, restaurants, the level of manners is something else. The politeness, very helpful. Here we seem to be losing that a little bit. And I think we need to bring that back, you know.
And Rachel, I have such mixed things on that. You know, like I feel that it is coming back in the right circles, but then you're going to attract your tribe, aren't you? You know, as well. So
Yeah,
I found like, you know, the people I'm around now, but then maybe I'm gravitating more towards them are more positive now. Don't be wrong. Like I say, I lived in England for a decade, so I maybe had my fill there too. Maybe if you're around them long enough, you get sick of
yeah,
it.
you
Yeah.
know,
And
yeah,
also compete it. Three of my shows were across the water this year. You know, so I do like going and competing. Like the level, you know, it is higher. It can be diluted because there's so many shows, but like, definitely the hardest lineups I stood in was in England this year, particularly in Birmingham. And it opened your eyes up to, not that I was going to end with any, again, like yourself, any like big aspirations and dreams like with it, but it was like, okay, these guys are good. Like, and the shows were busy as well, which
oh,
are
they
what
were busy.
like
Yeah, very,
that's the
very
problem
busy.
here. Sometimes it's not the most deep lineup. There's very good athletes in them. You get the odd one or two, but it's just not as deep. And it's
Yeah,
you know, there's at the end of that, it takes away the competitive nature of it a little bit if you're standing in the lineup. Like I in Ireland, I stood by myself in my class, and it's like,
yeah.
where's the fun in that, you know?
There is absolutely no fun in that. And for me, I have a problem with this as well. I think it goes with NPC. You know, if you're going for a pro qualifier, if you're going in for that, it is expensive to enter one category, right? So if there aren't enough people for that category, I actually believe that you should be told
Hmm.
there aren't enough for you to actually get your pro card here because there's only four or there's only three. You know, instead of you're prepping for months on end to go for this pro card and there actually aren't enough athletes in it. That's
Can I
not
ask a
fair.
question, Rachel, actually? Because and this isn't, and obviously Michaela won her pro card in women's physique,
Yes,
which is phenomenal
yeah.
achievement. I messaged her. She's directly messaged me back, so there's a pressure call there. They, there was three in their overall lineup for the pro card. Is that correct? How did that work? That she got the pro card in the day?
Oh, I didn't realize that.
In the video, that's what I'd seen. I might be wrong, but I'm not like it was awarded on the day, unless there was
Oh,
on the side. But no, I'd spotted it and I was like, because I know like the same again with Nikki as well. Like there was four in her lineup. There was one short. She had to actually send. Like they'd said to her, send your photos and your stage shots to Tyler Mannion, and he'll deem it whether it be worthy or not to offer a pro card status. And it was sent, and then Tyler
okay.
Mannion actually
Well,
offered the pro card.
do you know what? When I was over there when Michaela was on, there were other people. Now, maybe it was just they were picked from the overall of each class, but there was other people
Right.
competing,
Okay.
if you know what I
So
mean.
yes, in the other
Because
in the other women's physique classes because of the height. So yes,
yeah,
very well could right. That's maybe it. I just when I seen the overall, I was like, oh, but I suppose it's the
yeah,
whole lineup,
she
right?
was phenomenal. She was
Legs,
phenomenal. She
crazy.
deserved it. She was class, absolutely class. She's top notch. I have great time for Michaela. She's a really good soul. You know, when she went over there, she got that card. I'm delighted for her. She works her butt off as well. You know, she's a class bodybuilder. Look at that structure.
This is what I think the Irish bodybuilding scene. It's coming good though, because I'm looking at it and going, right, there's girls there and fellas that are on the brink now of getting IPB pro card status. There's lots of PCA pros here now as well. Like to me, the actual like there is obviously there's more opportunity given to
Yeah.
get those pro statuses, right? But I think it's only going to be a good thing for the Irish bodybuilding scene. Obviously, Ross Corey getting his pro card in the Open this year as well.
Yeah. I mean, what is he? He's just like a unit, isn't he? Like absolutely crazy, crazy, like
And condition
madness.
as well, like we said. But that's why I want to touch on with you, like this actual prep itself, because we've went through the shows, and I'm sure that Nabba was probably the perfect way to end it actually this year, really, in terms of like the probably one of your favorite, I'd imagine, experiences in bodybuilding.
Um, oh, 100%. Well, I always love NABBA, and I've said for people to please compete. You know what? With NABBA and with also the other smaller shows in the UK, or not smaller, but
Yeah,
smaller federations not known. You know what? You meet some amazing people. I've met some, I would hope, lifelong friends, you know, through this season. Kizzy, you know, there's just loads, there's loads. And Laura, there's so many people, but the prep for me was definitely my hardest. Like
yeah.
I cried more than once. I did. I am not going to lie. I did. I I I suffered for that condition badly. Um, there was times I thought I did say to my coach, Mike, I said, I think I've died 6 times during this fucking prep, you know. The
There is
training
there is
was,
no shortcut to that. Though you have to literally be that. You go give us a tip for mitigate. Like there isn't any. Like it's like
no,
you have to discipline.
everyone wants a shortcut. Everyone wants the shortcut. I just dieted down for months and end. I didn't have a cheat meal until actually it was the 7th of September. So I went from the 8th of March of this year until the 7th of September before I had a cheat meal.
Mm-hmm.
I was eating the same food 7 days a week. I
Do
went to
you
Spain
having
for two
refeeds in
weeks
there
with my
along the
children.
way?
Huh?
Do you having any refeeds in that and like, implement it in there along the way?
There was refeeds,
Yeah.
the odd ones, but they were few and far between as well. You know, like if he was looking at me and he thought, okay, we might need a bit of extra food, it was like a little bit of extra rice, a little bit
Yeah.
of extra potatoes, and that was it. The food was the same. Like I don't want to see asparagus again for a long time. No,
Like
no.
that. This
But
is my take on it. Again, you've achieved like much higher levels than I've done in bodybuilding. But like I think like especially in the meal category, but the women too, like they're asking for a refeed, asking for cheat meals, and it's like, or they think they're running flat when it's like you've seen yourself. I'm sure. Like I remember seeing a few pictures you'd sent us, like, and I was like, you're like, I'm flat. You're like, aye. But like, what other way around to get to that level of body fat? It's just like you have to be willing to go through those periods.
yeah, look, I always say we all train. The training is the easy part.
Mhm.
It's the food. It is the food, and it's being consistent. And I was consistent for 33 weeks.
Yeah.
So that I had my eye on the prize, and that prize was to bring my best for this year. And all I ever do every year is try and beat last year's look, and I did that, But I had my own vision. I had my vision of the overall. I wanted a sword from PCA, right? I wanted the overall at 2 rows. The PCA Nabba Universe was completely off the scales, beyond my expectations, to be honest. And obviously, I was hoping for the pro card, but that's not to be this year from the IFBB. No, I will still go for that whenever that will be. I'll know when I'm ready to go again. But for now, I just needed a bit of time off, with my family and friends and stuff like that as well, just to reset the body, because I did suffer a lot. I was doing 5 hours of cardio at one point a week, on the spin bike.
Yeah.
And it was really tough. But look, bodybuilding is supposed to be tough. That's why it's elite.
Mentally, how do you deal with that? Because obviously you said about family there. I don't know about your family circumstances and kids and stuff like that. It'd be interested to hear how you balance, for what of better terms, that like
Well,
the shit works.
yeah, well, I work as well. So I work full time. So, when I get up in the morning, I'm getting up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 3:40 a.m. I have my breakfast and I go to work, and I work 10-hour shifts. And then I come home and I work another 10-hour shifts because I have children. So I have twins. Now they're teenagers and they're wonderful. But with teenage daughters comes driving. So a lot of times, even like when I was, a week from my show, I was out on a Saturday night at 3 o'clock in the morning collecting them in fucking Roscommon, you know, 40 miles away because they were on the piss, you know. So that's life. Like I had to do those things. I had to make sure they're home safe and they're sound and they're fed and they're watered, and I bring them to work, and they have part-time jobs and stuff when they're going to school. So I have all of that. Then I have my normal job. Then I do a bit of PT, and that kind of stuff. So it was full on. Like I hadn't time. My feet don't touch the ground.
Yeah.
So I don't, and I think that for me, I have a little bit of resentment. I don't know, is resentment the right word? Probably. A bit pissed off sometimes with the scene in Ireland with bodybuilders that they would never see how much work I actually have to do just to maintain the level I could get to with everything outside of bodybuilding I had to do. You know what I mean? So it's not looking for sympathy. I would hate that. But it is a kind of a recognition of, but I don't have it quite as easy as everyone. And the cost alone, like it's one house with one income, so that also comes, I was robbing Peter to pay Paul, a lot of the time. It's not easy. Like it wasn't easy at all, but
Absolutely not. But when it comes to that recognition and people seeing that, like I didn't know that about you. Do you know what I mean? Because what most people see is like this is the thing, right? We look at everything through our own lens and our own perspective. This isn't like a counselling
Of course.
session. So we know what we're putting into it. And people might not look at my stuff because I'm driving stuff out there all the time. So they go, oh, this guy's doing this guy's doing this. Where with yourself, it was very much, it was physique based. So all we see is that I'm not going to say highlight reel because you'd seen you suffering, right? So we know you're putting the
Yeah.
work in that condition, but we don't know that I didn't know you had kids. I didn't know you were working 10, 11 hours. So no one's going to know that unless you put that out there. And it's something I say to a lot of athletes as well at that level is like, it's more time, right? But if you can find the time to put that out there, then people start buying into you. And then maybe people start going, do you do coaching or do you do this? And it maybe starts buying
Yeah.
free time and opening your time up. Because I know I'd watched, if you stuck a YouTube vlog up, I'd know I'd want to see what's going on. Like, how does this girl manage two kids, get the work, get shredded, do all these shows, and I work at this high level? So I can empathize with that then. Well, I can't because I didn't have any
Well,
kids. I don't have a full-time job
I
coaching it.
know.
Do you know what I
You
mean?
see, it's really weird. For someone like me, I don't know if other people who are in the same similar situation, I would hate people to feel in any way sorry for me. I'm really proud, right? And I would have suffered financially as well. You know, I would never ask for help. I would
Mhm.
die first. And like I suppose the thing is, when you're a single parent, you kind of not that you're embarrassed, but it's like I was also going through a divorce during this
Yeah.
period. Do you know what I mean? Now I'm very happy, or very lucky that my ex-husband, he doesn't live here, he lives in the UK actually, so I don't have every second weekend off. I
Yeah.
have every weekend, but he is a very nice person. We get on very well, you know.
Yeah.
But he's hoping to get married soon, so you know I'm trying to get divorced done, trying to get all this bits and pieces done, you know, as well as everything else, you know. So it wasn't easy, you know. It certainly wasn't easy, and I think there was mornings there, as you know, because I've seen it. You weren't sleeping. I wasn't sleeping. I was getting about 3 or 4 hours
It was
max.
a 4 o'clock
You
text.
know. Yeah, yeah. Now I'd already be up at that stage anyway for work, but I was waking up at 2. You
Ah,
know, so I was getting, I was going to bed at like 10 or 9, and I was getting 3 hours sleep, and I was wide awake. It wasn't just like, oh, I might just drift off back. It was like I'm ready for the day.
mad
So
that,
often I
isn't
go
it?
out
Like
and I
your
train.
body's doing, you're like, let me sleep. And it's like, nah,
Yeah.
go. Do you know,
Mm.
it's
To
fucking.
hell with you, woman. You're going to suffer more, you know. So there was a lot of that. But look at that. I'm very lucky. My kids are super supportive. You know, they're really good girls. So I'm lucky in that regard. You know, and Emily, she's come to the shows. The two of them have, you know, and they just love it. They
Are they
love it.
into
And
it?
I'm sure at times they're like, huh?
Are they into it themselves? Like, do they train? Do they have that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, they've been training for years. Like
Yeah.
I was showing them how to swing a kettlebell when they were flipping 6 and 7. You know what I mean? So, but they go in and out of it. You know, they're more interested in like, you know,
Being
teenage stuff.
teenagers, which is
So
probably a good thing.
TikTok, you know, all this kind of jazz. So, you know, and that's for them. I didn't get into fitness until I was in my 30s. You know,
Yeah.
so you know, but you know, they'll have their time. I don't know would they might go into powerlifting. I did powerlifting first, and that's another thing. Like I do. Have you seen how people train?
Oh, far too much. Obviously, that's been my career for the
You
last
know,
13 years.
yeah, you know what? They're like wet wipes.
Yeah.
Like just you know, I think personally, right? I was powerlifting before I went into bodybuilding, and that has stood to me, right? And to get that kind of abuse from a coach. You know, I don't mean that in a bad way. I think it's fantastic. I think you should be able to give out to someone and tell them their form is shite
Yeah.
without them getting too defensive either, you know. So I had that for a couple of years. I was powerlifting. I loved it, I have to say. But you know, at least I knew how to lift some heavy weights and push myself way beyond where I wanted to go, which has definitely stood to me in bodybuilding, you know.
Where did you
So
do your
now
first bodybuilding
I
school
see
picture?
someone doing a single arm pull down, and it's taken them a week to get from A to B, you know, and having to scrap muscle. Like, would you ever fucking just go in and lift some weights, throw them around, you know?
It's so interesting. Like, again, this is like when I have ones on the podcast because we're coming from a lot of times, like people are coming from different generations on it. And like, I always find, like, I find the training side of things really interesting as well. Because
Mm,
at my starting point, obviously it depends on your environment you're in. My starting point was like a very old school environment, so it was very much like I would say no thought behind training and just lift stuff really heavy and really
Yeah,
hard, and that has its
yeah.
place. And then I went to England and I started becoming like a little bit more educated in training, biomechanics side of things. My degree was there, and then it became probably too much other way. It was very much like you actually said there, and I find now like with maturity. Again, I'm only 33, like, but I found like more of a middle ground with it. Like, what does your training like look like? You know, if you were saying, "Here's my week, here's the setup," what does my actual training look like?
Oh, so what I was doing for my last season was Tuesday after work. So I get home around 5, just after 5 o'clock, and start training around 5:30. Now those sessions this season were long; they were over 2 hours. So it's about I'd start with 5 upper, 5 lower. That's what I was doing, trying to get the shoulders to grow, and then it was squats, a lot of squats, barbell squats. Like it was taking me an hour to do those alone. You
Yeah,
know,
and you're warming up for them too, and getting into them and letting yourself recover.
yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly. So I was basically coming out of training and eating food and going to bed. Like that was it because it was late. And then back up at 3:40 a.m. the next morning. So Tuesday was 5 upper, 5 lower. Then I go Friday, Thursday evening after work again was all back. It was all back actually. Then Friday it was push, and Saturday it was legs. And by God, I walloped myself,
yeah,
like really and truly. Do you know what I did? I just nailed everything, and I tried to push as far as I could. Not every single session, I'm not going to lie, because I was really tired, especially coming up to the end, as you know yourself. Now I've seen you push, you can really push. But yeah, it was hardcore. It was hardcore, hardcore.
it sounds very old
RDA.
school training. You know, I think that the garage setup, like I know a few ones, and they're like it works in their favor sometimes because there's not the distraction, and it's like fucking business to do, job done. Like with the barbell
Absolutely.
squat and stuff, like it's obviously
Yeah,
it's something you're well used to doing too. But that like, the recovery demands on that, especially when
yeah,
you're working so much, you're fucking insanely lean. Like it asks a lot of your body, and it asks a lot of that. And I think that's where what I've seen talking about, like this is now episode like 35, 40, like the difference between those that are elite, that are achieving like high levels. I would say, like, with even in the amateur ranks, like
mm,
it's their mindset that really dictates is the difference, because it's the mindset they take into the diet, and it's like you nearly need held back. It's the mindset they take in the training. They actually probably sometimes fucking need held back from that too. Do you know that? Because like, it's not always the
yeah.
best thing, but having that, I'd far rather have somebody coach somebody with that mentality where I'm saying, we need to hold back here rather than going, right, fuck, we need to rug up your arse here to get going.
Yeah. I wish I heard those words during my prep hold back. I never heard that. I would definitely have welcomed that one for sure, but no, it was push, push, push. Mike is very old school as well. Um, but it does have its, like I have to say, since I've come out of my prep and everything, I have been so tired,
Of
like
course.
walloped, like wow, it has really knocked the stuff out of me, I can tell you. And all I've been doing is sleeping, and I have slept a lot, like
Your
since,
body needs
which has
that.
been great.
Your body needs that. Like, I
Yeah,
always, like, again, it's like we've talked to a lot of ones, and it's like that for me as well. That post show it's not even a mentally harder. It's like that, like pressure, that like boof, boof, boof mentality can kind of go a little bit as it should. You can't live like that.
yeah.
You'd be
Oh
insane.
yeah, no.
Um,
Mine was gone. It was gone after once I knew I wasn't going to do anymore, that was it. It happened to me actually before in 2020. I was with the wonderful Dave Fox, great time for Dave. Um, and he was coaching me actually for muscle contest. And Jesus Christ, that was hardcore as well, because he's old school. Dave is hardcore, old school. And I absolutely love him, and I loved his training. But that prep was pulled. I think it could have been maybe 5 weeks or something because the COVID hit, and that was pulled. I'll never forget. Right, I was on the stairmaster in a gym in Athenry. I got off the stairmaster. I went straight to the supermarket. I bought myself a bottle of
okay.
wine and a box of French fancies, and I went hell for leather for about a year of eating shite. Like,
Just COVID.
and it was
That was the COVID
terrible.
year, was it?
Huh?
That was the COVID year, was it?
That was the COVID year. Yeah,
Ah,
it was. There was nothing to do, nowhere to go. And I was peeled. I was in the best condition ever. He got me into some condition, I tell you. But when I got off there, I just went completely wild with food. Not his fault at all, 100% me. And I couldn't stop. I just went on a spiral, and I got definitely the fattest I ever was in my life. And
Did
it
you
was
have your
awful.
own setup in the gym still at that point? Your own
No,
garage? No.
no, the gym out here has only been new. That's only here the last year, thanks to Gregor and thanks to my sister and my dad as well for helping and stuff like that. That's only new. So I had keys to a gym. Then I was really struggling mentally. It really knocked me, COVID, that whole thing. It was, I think for everyone, it was a really bad time. You know, I mean, we were still working, so like we were still going to work every day, but we couldn't do anything else. And I found that it mentally destroyed me actually. So I just ate and drank beers and had barbecues every day. That's what it is.
I
You
can attest to that. It's like I was in Newcastle. I was all 1-to-1 at the time, and then obviously like I was a week out from my first ever first bodybuilding show. Like
know,
I believe that was the leanest I ever was actually because you didn't know when you didn't have to, it was just get lean and no muscle like
yeah,
zero muscle.
exactly.
I was dying. A week out got cancelled. I was like what? And then I decided I was like right. I had a gym over there. And I was like, right, I'm just going to bodybuild to start at PEDs, put on about 20 pounds inside.
Oh,
So
no.
like, completely lost my mind at the same time, I will say. With it, like COVID, again, it really changed me, I think, as a person. But then
Yeah.
the silver linings of it was to get into the sport and started online coaching. So then it afforded me the life that I have now. But so trying to look back on things with there's a silver lining from that. But it was a hard time, especially like
Yeah.
yourself, when you had all the gym stuff going for you a week out, whatever it was and then it's taken, and you lose
Oh,
a sense of purpose about what you are and who you are.
oh, it was like all your work was wasted. Do you know what I mean? And then, well, at least you actually went the smart route and you actually monopolized on that. I went
Yes.
totally the opposite way, a complete destruction of everything. And really, I put on some amount of fat. I was so fat. I remember my daughter sent me a picture, and I said, "Oh my God."
Not me at the time.
Why didn't you tell me? And that's when I started with Shane Cullen then, and he got me into phenomenal shape. I would say that for the Irish Nationals in 2022, and I won that, and that was my first bigger show, and I was, oh, sure, I was the happiest ever, and he was fantastic at that time. He was really, really good. He got me into great shape, and I was eating. I am not joking you. I was eating 3,000 calories a day up until the day before that show, and I was having 2 cheat meals a week.
It's so different, isn't it? Like, yeah, how,
That was
how it
ridiculous.
changes every. Like, you think you got it nailed. That's a bodybuilding. Listen, to be honest, Rachel, there's so much I didn't really even get into your background and stuff as much, and I usually do. But the conversation kind of flowed. But like, I'm always aware I'm trying to keep this like an hour and 15 for people's engagement. So there's a few
Yeah,
other things. Like, we'll get on again because I really didn't go into the background as much as I planned
I
to.
know.
But
I can talk, sure, I can talk.
that's what you want in this. That's what you want in this. I didn't want it to be like scripted, like let you go with it. But like you're 49 now, is that right?
Yes, I'll be 50 next June.
So what does like where do you see? Because a lot of people like they'll not be bodybuilding at that, but obviously I would say newer to it, but you've been at it for a long time. They like what do you see the next few years like with it? Do you
Oh,
think
I have big dreams.
yeah,
My dreams
you don't
are
see an end point to this? Is what I'm sort of saying is like
no. You know
no,
what? When I'll stop when my body starts telling me to basically fuck off.
yeah,
So I'm going to keep going. I have big dreams. Like I know a few times I've said I'm retiring. I'm not retiring, and I said I was retiring for. Well, I suppose when you're coming to your end of your prep, you just never want to you're just so bollocks. You just want to go to sleep and never wake up because you're just I don't mean death wise, but you know what I mean. But no, I would like to get my IFBB Pro card. But I also would like to go to the Masters Olympia. I'm just putting that out there. If anyone wants to sponsor me, give me maybe 50 grand. That'd be
well, not in
great.
Japan this next. I mean that's a goal. Like, that's obviously we discussed as well. The women's like with Nikki, the women's physique because she's turned 40. Like the plan is to do shows next year.
Yeah,
Like it's not in Japan anymore either, which is good. I'm gonna get paid because they weren't paying them in Japan this year. So
yeah, brilliant. It's not, but look, it's my first step, anyways, to get the IFBB Pro card. I may not be good enough for it. I don't know. I just have to wait and see. I will give it my best again whenever I go up on stage. I'm not sure 100% yet. I'll just see how the next few months peters out, and see how I get on. But I have no intention of stopping lifting or anything like that. And for me, like, I know I have more to give.
Yeah.
So I know when I don't have any more to give, that's game over for me. But I know everything can always be improved.
What is the plan this off? So is the plan to compete next year? And like
Well,
what are you
you
looking
know
to
what? It will be my first year as a pro at Nabba Pro.
Mhm.
And to win in that pro show and to beat Layla, who's been, Queen Bee for years. I felt terrible, by the way, when I won that. I actually went over to her and apologized on stage. I said, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." I felt terrible, like, and that's just the way I am. I can't help that. But I would like to obviously defend that title.
Yeah.
But I know she wants to take that title back, and I don't blame her. You see, that's the way it goes. So I'll just I'll see how I go. If I can make some improvements, I'll 100% go again. Yeah, for sure.
What does that look like for you the off season? Because always do get questions, about PEDs and stuff. Like how,
Mm.
like as a female, sometimes it's very hard. Like even males, it's a hard topic to address sometimes. But I know you're fairly open
Oh,
up. What does
yeah.
that look like for you at your level?
Listen, I'm not joking. If I could take everything, I'd take it, and I wouldn't think twice about it. But I don't want to grow a penis, and I like my jaw just how it is, right? So that is just me being honest. If I could take tren, I would. So I was using just 10 milligrams of Anavar in the morning, 10 at night, 3 IUs of GH,
Mhm.
clean, and there was no T3, no T4. I was using like berberine, which is natural.
Yeah.
That was it. And that's all I used. I was I'm wholly disappointed.
Yeah, that's the
You know?
thing. I look at that and go, that's fairly moderate, for
Oh, it's lovely.
it's not
And,
just
and
like fem
for me,
seems to
yeah,
is
Mike,
fem test something you've looked at, Rachel? Like fem
say
test,
again.
fem test something you've looked at as a choice? Because a lot of
Oh,
getting into that.
yeah, 100%. I tell you why, just because of my age, if I'm
Yeah,
being honest. Do you know what
misjudged.
I mean? I don't even know if I've gone through the menopause. If I have no idea because I had no symptoms
Yeah,
of anything. And, my menstrual cycle does actually come back from time to time. Now, I actually asked the doctor about that because it is sporadic now. She
yeah,
said that's just going to happen with age. But for sure, I'll give it another few weeks. I'll get my bloods done. I'll see where I stand. The last time I got them blood done, my test levels are actually quite low. So Shane had put me on DHEA,
hmm
which is I don't fuck, is it some natural shite? I'm not sure. But so I was using that, and that's been it. But I would I don't care. At this stage, I
I
don't.
think like especially if your test, I think Emil, like if your test levels are running that little bit lower, like there's a bit. Listen,
Yeah.
I've seen advantages from utilizing it with clients, even at a high end physiological level, and I haven't really seen
Mm,
it's early doors enough, but I haven't seen particularly any trade offs in terms of virilization from it. It's only been
yeah.
in
Oh,
terms of
that's something.
feel and longevity and that side of things. To me, it makes a lot
Yeah.
of sense.
Well, not just, I think even just for a bit of like maybe mojo, like just to, I suppose you can kind of get quite low, I suppose. But it is something I would definitely, like, I don't care. You know what I mean? I don't want, if there was going to be no changes, I would do it.
Yeah.
I have no problem. But I don't want a lot of the awful side effects I've seen. And I have seen it with a lot of younger girls, and it's sad. I don't think it's worth it for for the long term for them. I think that they'll probably have a lot of regret.
That was a question because I always find it interesting, somebody with your experience level in it is like, what would you say to younger, I suppose, like female competitors actually that are looking to sort of get into the scene, but not so much bikini classes, like I would say the more muscular classes. Like, what's your advice? What's your watch out for sort of things as well?
Yeah, I probably what I would do is look at your foods a lot more. And although you don't need to go crazy, crazy high, I went crazy high last season after I did PCA Galway. I put my calories up to 5,000 straight away. But I can eat,
Yeah.
right? I can eat, and it stood to me actually then, and I was about 4 months doing that. And then my calories were cut when I met Mike. Mike actually sponsored my coaching, which was really, really nice of him because I couldn't afford to, as a single parent, do that. And he actually came to me, and my repayment to him was to follow his plan 100%.
Yeah.
So that was how I said thank you to him, and I did, and that's why I have won the amount I've won this year. You know what I mean? But for girls starting out, take it easy. You know, just take it easy, especially if you're using gear, because it as you go on through time, as anyone knows, it, you know, the effects can get worse and worse, and you know, you don't want that. You want a nice jawline. You know, you want your bits down there to stay where they are. You know, you know what I mean. And
I do.
look, people are using it who aren't even bodybuilders. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. I heard Denise talk about it when she was backstage with the wellness girls. She saw things she didn't.
Yeah.
But I saw that. I saw that years ago myself when I was competing with RIBBF. I nearly died. I didn't believe that was possible. To see what I had seen.
I've experienced it like, IFBB level, the pro level. You know, it was the women's physique girls. They're getting tanned. I walked in just to sort of have a wee, a wee look to see what was going
Yeah.
on. So,
Yeah.
you know.
It is.
I think patience is a virtue. You know, obviously you've been at this for a long, long time. And when I look at total PED history, I'm like that for where you're at for that length of time, like that's fairly conservative. And I'm sure that's built up over time. Like I think all of us would probably experiment it and been like,
Oh
you know,
God, yeah.
I know myself, like this year is probably I'm willing to push things more now. That's just the reality of it because it's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Doing. But there's been a trajectory upwards of that. You know, it's not like I've seen a bodybuilding show, like, and this is where I think where a lot of young girls, young fellas get like they see a bodybuilding show, they see their TikTokers, as you say, with your daughters and stuff, and it's like so accessible, it's so easy, it's all glamorized, and then you're in the deep end of it, and you're like, this isn't really what I fucking when I'm living it, it's
Yeah.
not what I expect or want from it.
Yeah, 100%. I think a lot of people, yeah, they see the show with the glamour, what you're talking about, but they don't see what happens behind the scenes. And it is like, you
Mm-hmm.
know, it's tough. It's tough sport. That's why not everyone does it. Like, and not everyone should do it either. You know, which is why even I won't even go into the whole fit model thing, but it absolutely drives me off the
We
head.
are going to go into that before we go because this is actually like this. I like this. I like these sort of topics, yeah. And it's not to be
Mm,
negative, it's just to find out people's opinions and what they feel like the general bodybuilding scene looks like at the minute, both here in
mm,
Ireland and generally across the board. Like I'd like to have like two wee looks at this from your perspective on it, right? Is what's the scene like you feel like it's here and then across the UK, the difference, but also the female classes and I suppose the way they're going because like as you say, the introduction of female fit model, I'm like, well, this is what is this sports day? Everybody gets a medal. I don't personally like
mm,
it. I don't personally like it, but because it's not
yeah.
bodybuilding to me. It's
Well, for me, it's just a way of bringing in more money, right? Which is fine. But I think if you want to do that class, and this is not for any, I wouldn't look if I was coaching people, I wouldn't be coaching a fit model. That it would be simple as that, right? I don't think it has any. I just no. I think you should wait until you go into bikini, you know, at least and in bikini are stacked. They're
yeah,
stacked.
yeah,
Whatever about doing fit models, right? The very thought that one of them could get a pro card, and they have, right, for being mediocre. I'm sorry, right? And I've been killing myself training to put on size who can't get a pro card. Like even if I didn't train for the next 10 years, I would be still too big for fit model.
yeah.
You know, it blows my mind that
Mhm.
that's being rewarded that way. Fine if you want to go and do it and it's a stepping stone to bikini, that's fine. But I think you shouldn't be an IFBB pro card should not be attainable for that class.
It
That
certainly
is just
should
me.
be
If I get shot down for that, I actually don't care. I will buy die with that sword.
I
And
agree.
I
I
absolutely
don't
do.
think it has a place in the Olympia too. Like you know, I mean that.
No,
But
no.
yeah, then like with the way the like obviously the women's physique to women's figure classes are like
Mm.
how do you see that? Do you like the way that's going? I think you know we've seen the women's body. I was impressed with the women's bodybuilding this year. I thought they
Oh,
kept
I love
more
it.
femininity with it too than
Yeah.
where it was if like probably a decade ago. You know.
Yeah. I think let's bring that back. I think
Mhm.
that is wonderful. And you even look at Michaela, like, I know she's in the physique class, beautiful.
Mhm.
Womanly, fabulous shape. She's all feminine, and I think, look, we're bodybuilders to be women, not to be men.
Yeah.
And I think it had gone that way and it was awful. So I think, yeah, bring back the prettiness of the muscle and, not this crazy, oh my God, I don't know what.
Yeah.
That's not to offend anyone either, by the way. I'm not about that. But it did go a bit too far, I thought. But I think for, say, my class, which, you know, I love figure, um, it's like you're chasing the unicorn. You know, you're kind of pissing in the wind sometimes, because one week they want one look, and then the next week they want a softer look and a harder look, and blah blah blah. So you never actually know. And I think, at least if you're going to have criteria, actually stick to it and don't change it, you know,
Yeah,
all the time. It's really hard to know,
it
you
is.
know.
It is. Show to show, federation to federation, regional to regional. Like there is
Yeah,
inconsistency in the judging. I know it's a subjective sport to a
it
degree,
is
but there is
very.
criteria, you know, like in like
Mm,
what level of condition do you want? What level of muscularity do you want? What's the separation between the two classes really? There
yes,
needs to be real separation between the two classes, you know, or otherwise it's
absolutely.
like what are we judging here then? You know, it's like
But I'll give you a perfect example. Look at Alan, the AK. Look at his partner, Eva. Ava.
mhm,
She is. I feel so sorry for her. Like, and she probably hates that I would say that, but I have seen her go from competition to competition. Each time she goes, they want a different look. Like, how are you supposed to know?
yeah.
That poor girl. I hats off to her, because she's some kind of made of steel, that she can keep going like that and not be, not have a, I suppose, really get inside her head, because it's a big ask all the time. One minute she's too lean, next thing she's too soft. I mean, like, it's unfair, I think.
It's
Don't you
difficult.
think?
It's difficult. It's difficult to manage a prep like that, even or a peak, because you're inside your own head and going, well, where do they want? And sometimes the judges' feedback isn't particularly relevant. You know, they're saying an EG filler. Well, does that mean
Yeah.
bigger? Actually, do you need more muscle? Because you know they
Yeah,
don't know your prep. They see what they see on a stage, and they'll
yeah, of course.
or tighter. Like you maybe just need to be bigger too. So even taking the judges' feedback sometimes with like a pinch of salt, you know, because again, it's what lens they view it from without knowing your process. But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting
100%.
minute. Right, I want
The
to wrap
thing about,
up, Rachel, by asking you, like, what is bodybuilding giving you? I like something a bit deep to end it here. So, what has bodybuilding given you over the past like decade plus of doing it?
oh, what is it? Everything? I would say absolutely everything. It has really shown me my true colors of how hard I can push, how hard I can stick to plans. I think it has given me some serious integrity as well, if I'm
Mhm.
being honest. You know, to be focused completely on something, but also be able to, obviously do other things at the same time. But to give a sport 100% doesn't just stay in that sport, it goes outside as well.
Yeah,
I have good morals. I may not have always, but I certainly do now, and have for fucking a long, long time. I think it's made me such a good person, that I can see things clearly, and I speak the truth as well. So as much as I can see it, from my point of view. But it has definitely given me, Jeannie Mackers, I suppose, the desire to always want to be better.
yeah,
But I also know I'm shit as well. I don't think I'm fucking great. I see I've got a little shit there. I can see that. I'm not. I think sometimes, especially when you're showing off bits of your body as a female, people think, who does she think she is?
mhm,
This kind of thing. Like, would she ever? Would she ever? You hear that, especially as a female. I don't think anything like that. But I'm in a game where it's about how you look, your image, your body.
yeah,
And I just always want to improve it. And especially for someone like me who's 49, who carried twins to nearly full term, for me to be able to transform my body from that to this, is, for me, it's phenomenal. It
yeah.
should be celebrated, not have people, which is a bit of an Irish thing, look down their nose at you and judge you, for all the wrong things, instead of having positive things to say, try and make it into a negative. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it can be a culture. It can be a culture. I think it's and probably an older school mentality with that. And I gather like I'm not going to give an opinion as a female because that's your experience of it as well. And go
Mm,
like I'd imagine it can be harder. I know it's the same, and I see the same as well. Like
yeah,
who do you think you are? More so from my perspective, it's like I don't hear it so much from other athletes. But again, I'm not running in. I
yes.
pick my circle a little bit wisely, but more like the outside view of it. But then
Oh, yeah.
I don't really care. But it's harder for a female, I do think, because I don't really care what other general public think. But
Oh, and that's another thing this sport has definitely given me, is that as well, not really caring too much. Look, if I took all of the things that have been said to me over the years on board, I wouldn't be doing anything. I just say to them, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to sit at home watching Emmerdale? Do you know what I mean? Like, is that would that make you happy?
Yes, it would. Because it's easy. It's easy to fit into a box. Society wants you to fit into a box. They don't value things necessarily to go out of the norm because it scares them.
Yeah,
You know, like I know even from doing this
sure.
podcast and stuff and putting myself out there, it was like, who do you think you are? What have you done? It's like, well, fucking, I'm doing it. You do it then.
Listen to all your
Nah, balls.
podcasts. I've listened to every single one of them. I love them. I'd be like, why can I not? Why is it not on Spotify? Why does it take so long to
It
get
is
it?
now. It is now.
It
It
is
took
now,
me.
no,
I could only
I
learn how to
listen.
use Zoom. Only learned how to use Zoom a year ago. So
Yeah, no, it's great. No, I know because I used to find you on YouTube and I'd be watching them from there. But it's great when I go to work. I'm stick you on in the morning. I put
I need a better microphone. But Rachel, listen, I really thank you for coming on. I thought it was like honest, raw, exactly sort of what I thought it would be. And the thing is, it's your opinion and your truth as well, like which is
yeah,
important. I want people to be able to
that's
speak
it.
the truth.
In case anyone wants to sue me out there, it's only my opinion.
No, it's good. We want that. You need to give your opinion. You need to give your opinion. You need to be honest with
Yeah.
yourself and to everybody else. So no, if people want to find you, Rachel, they do want to follow along with like I suppose your off season now as you go into your first season of Nabba Pro. Where do they go and find you?
Oh, Rachael Dunne. So Rachel.Dunne._ is my Instagram. I have two other accounts, but I have no access to them. I was banned during COVID, so I can't even see those. But yeah, Rachel.Dunne._ is my Instagram, and just Rachael Dunne on Facebook. That's it. That's
I
all I have.
I'll stick the link in under the thread so well here as well. But as I say, Rachel, I appreciate you coming on. You know, I'm sure we'll stay in touch plenty and be following along as the next sort of couple of years unfold for you as well.
Yeah, that's
But
great. Thanks so much, and thanks for the support as well, Neil.
of course,
Throughout the prep, the odd messages I'd send you at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning.
it's cathartic. It's cathartic. You know, these
It
are as
is.
well being able to do this and try and create a very positive environment in the Irish bodybuilding scene because that is literally
Yeah, for sure.
or to
I
bring people
agree,
together.
100%. Any kind of I suppose like silliness or anything ever with any past kind of competitor. I don't carry grudges, but I don't like being screwed over by people, but I don't carry grudges. So, let things be, I suppose.
Let's all grow together, guys. Let's make it a
Yeah,
better place to be. But listen,
better.
guys, thank you for watching. Please do I'm going to say this every time. Like, subscribe to the channel there, right? Because there's more views all the time than there is
Oh
subscribers.
yeah,
Subscribe to
you'll
the
have to tell me how to do that, brutally.
like, share, subscribe. But yes, we'll be back. I've got a Craic Podcast with Connor McGee this week. We'll be recording, and I'll be back next week for another episode of What's the Crack. Well, guys, thank you for following, and Rachel again, thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks so much, Neil. Take care. Thank you. Bye bye.